Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawkblogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser, and it's not the morning, but that's okay because we can do this in the afternoon. We can do it in the evening, and it's always going to be a good time if Grant Cohn is on with us. And that's what's happening today as we take our tour around the NFC West. Talked to Darren Urban of the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. We talked to Grant today about the 49ers. Grant, man, how's life, man? It's been a while.
Life is good. I played golf yesterday. I didn't have as cool of an experience as you did, but I parred a par six. In Oakland, there's the only par six west of the Mississippi. It's kind of ridiculous. It's basically this big downhill thing that's like 700 yards, but I parred it. And it was the first time ever, and I'm feeling pretty great about it.
Okay, I gotta ask you, like, what replay that hole for me? Like, driver off the tee, right?
Driver off the tee, and I smashed
Drive?
it. Not that
Okay.
good, but I happened to lay into this one. So I got it, I don't know, 280, 290. And then this
Oof.
one, it dog lays left, and there's a big downhill. So it rolls halfway down the hill, which is nice. Then my second shot, I didn't play it that well. I didn't realize it's a heavy downslope, and so I probably should have clubbed down to get more loft. But of course, I grabbed my hybrid, getting greedy, and just hit a kind of low liner to the bottom of the hill. Third shot, hit it to the top of the hill, a little left of the green, chip down, two putted, six. I was proud of it.
Well done, man. That's cool.
Thank you.
I did not know about this par six. I'm now curious. I'll have to get out there and play. Yeah, I had a fun one this morning. So you and I are supposed to be on this morning, and then I won't get into all the details about where I was supposed to be, but had family stuff. Ended up pushing off. So I went, scrambled to get on the golf tee sheet, and I ended up playing golf with someone who I will keep their privacy private, but a member of the Seahawks organization, and it
You're
was
cool.
it was not an expected outcome of the morning, but it was a lot of fun. And
Was it Sam Darnold?
I'm not going to tell you.
Was it
I will
Jaylen
tell you.
Milroe?
I will tell you. I shot a 40 on the back, and I beat this person by 2 strokes. So I'm not that good of a golfer, dude. I'm not that good, but I have like systematically moved through a few different Seahawks, a few different Seattle media members, and I'm undefeated this year with absolutely no official competition. But it was good. It was fun. It was a
You
good
got
way
to
to
come to Chabot and play me on
All
my
right.
home court.
All right, I will do that. I will do
All right,
that.
sounds good.
Next time, maybe. I guess you're probably not that close to the 49ers to facility, Santa Clara. So we'll have to figure that out.
Stay in
But
Oakland. It's okay. It's really safe. It's nice.
I've spent a lot of time in the Bay Area, so I do. Oakland's don't sleep on Oakland, man. Oakland's pretty
You
sweet.
need a tour guide.
Okay, so you're down in the Bay Area. You can maybe help me with this because you're close enough to Apple. So I was riding my bike. We're going to eventually talk about football, but I was riding my bike and I got this new little iPhone holder for it. And it was great, but I didn't realize there's supposed to be a lock to keep it tight. And so I hit a bump, phone goes up in the air, hits the street, and I'm like, oh man. And I scramble to get off my bike. I get the phone and it looks fine. I'm like, awesome. I like dodged a bullet, but I got that, dude. Do you see that?
Oh no.
The
Oh, that's kind
dreaded.
of important.
So do I get a new phone? Do I get that repaired? Like, what's the deal? What's the move there?
Probably a new phone.
Probably just go straight for a new phone.
Yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
it's a
Well,
write-off. It's a business necessity.
it is.
It
I mean,
is.
my first thought is like all the like training camp pictures and OTA pictures and video are like gonna be all blurry.
You got 30 days to figure that out, man. This is important.
It's true. It's true. Well,
Yeah.
so the 49ers, speaking of OTAs and minicamps, it's over for them. Yes, done.
Yes. Yes. Same for the Seahawks?
Yes. Yes. The
Okay.
Rams are like in Maui, like doing like I tried to convince the person I golf with today that the Seahawks should do that next year. It doesn't sound like that's gonna it doesn't sound like that's on the docket, but
Maybe if they win a Super Bowl, they can do stuff like that.
maybe. Like tell me about what's the goings on with this 49ers team, man.
It's so funny because they had this awful year last year, 6-11, and they've basically decided that they're just going to do the opposite of everything they did last year, and that So last year, the reason they weren't good is because they had distractions and drama in the offseason. Forget like their team isn't that good. No, it was distractions and drama. So this year, they just gave lots of money to all their players really fast. And that means they're going to be a lot better this year. I don't know. I think they're like trying to hype themselves up. But at the same time, the general manager, John Lynch, just did like this long interview with NBC Sports Bay Area. And he was making so many excuses preemptively. He was asked, like, what are the goals for this year? Last year, the answer would have been, the Super Bowl. Our goal is to make it back to the Super Bowl. This year, it's like, well, there's only one team that wins it all, and whoever doesn't is going to be disappointed. Having said that, we're a very young team. It's like, no, you're not. All your best players are kind of old. So they're in this transition year, and I think the media loves the Niners. They're kind of media darlings, and everyone expects the Niners to bounce back, whatever that means. But on paper, they're worse than the 6-11 team they had last year. It's just that they have a very easy schedule on paper. So they should be expected to win 10 games, even if they're not that good. Although they still might be the worst team in the NFC West.
They're really kind of a challenging team to evaluate because on one hand, you can say, okay, look at the guys they lost. Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, like Deebo Samuel, if you want to throw him on the list. Like, these are some well-known Charvarius Ward, right? Like a lot of starting level players. At the same time, Charvarius Ward took a big step back last season, missed some time as well, was not the same player. Dre Greenlaw obviously missed almost the whole season. Christian McCaffrey missed a lot of this. Well, we'll come back to him. And then you've got guys like Hufanga missed most of the season, and Deebo Samuel ended up being kind of a nothing. So, like, did they lose much? But then you're like, okay, but that was a lot of quality on the roster that's no longer there. So they seem thinner, at least, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, John Lynch said it himself. Like, we had to get younger and cheaper this offseason. It seemed like they had a directive from the owners. Like, we've been paying so much and probably irresponsibly. We gave away this. We paid Aiyuk and didn't want to, and you told us that we should, and that blew up in our faces. So, look, we're going to do things a little differently this offseason. Now, John, you're a good general manager, right? Kyle, you're a good coach, right? Make it work with rookies. What are we paying you guys so much for? We're paying the players too much. You guys make it work. And I think that's maybe the sign of a coach and a general manager who are on the lukewarm seat. I don't know what you want to call it, but it seems like it's not as hunky-dory as it was a year or two ago with the Niners.
Well, and you bring up the Brandon Aiyuk deal. That was the biggest drama of the drama last year. And not only was the contract pretty hefty and looks pretty bad in retrospect, but then he got injured. And you've kind of brought up maybe some, I don't know, lack of camaraderie, lack of chemistry between Mr. Aiyuk and the new big paid quarterback, Brock Purdy. What's your kind of like, what's the deal with Brandon Aiyuk? When is he expected? Is he practicing yet? When's he expected back? Like, what's the prognostication with him?
They say he's ahead of schedule, but they don't say what the schedule is. So hard to say. I mean, I don't think he's going to play week 1. And even let's say he plays week 3. I wouldn't expect him to be the Brandon Aiyuk we remember until 2026. If he's ever the Brandon Aiyuk we remember again. I mean, that was a devastating knee injury, ACL, MCL, and meniscus. But I think what you're asking about is also like the dynamics between him and the team. He was having a bad year before he got hurt. He had no touchdown catches. He was dropping like a career high in terms of drop rate before he went down. The question was why? Like, you got everything you wanted, but it seemed like something happened in the process of that negotiating period that broke the relationship and they never fixed it. And I think you usually say like, well, money should fix it. It should, but he's a wide receiver. And wide receivers are a little bit more sensitive than other players. And it seemed like whatever they said probably hurt his ego. And with wide receivers, you're trying to like not hurt their ego. You want to feed their ego. You want them to think they're the greatest of all time. And then you come to the negotiating room and you're like, you're a wide receiver too. Who do you think you are? I don't think he ever forgot it. And maybe they should have just traded him like they wanted to. If you're really going to go that route and say these things to a guy and tell him that he's not foundational and he's replaceable, then replace him, move on. But now they're stuck with one of the top 10 worst contracts in football.
Interesting. And There was some conversation at some point about Scary Terry over there in Washington, who's also unhappy with his contract. And I think you posited this last year. You and I talked about this. Is there a chance that they would try to trade Aiyuk before they signed him for Terry McLaurin, get Brandon Aiyuk back with Jaden Daniels, the whole thing? And that didn't happen. And obviously Jaden Daniels blew up with Terry McLaurin. It's hard for me to believe that the Commanders would bite on that kind of deal. Is there anything that in your mind that makes you think that that could happen?
I mean, if they can't work things out with McLaurin and they want someone that has chemistry with Jaden Daniels, like it would have to be Jaden Daniels saying, "Bring this guy to the team. I'm the franchise and he's my guy." Maybe they would do it in that case, but I see Aiyuk, even though he's younger than McLaurin, as a downgrade from McLaurin. McLaurin's more explosive, better after the catch, doesn't have this awful knee injury to come back from. I don't think anyone, like the idea that the Niners could get Terry McLaurin for Brandon Aiyuk, I don't think they can get anything for Brandon Aiyuk at this point. I don't think they could get anyone to take that contract off their hands. It's that bad.
Well, and that puts them in kind of an interesting spot because Demarcus Robinson, who was one of their few, I call him a name signing, like he wasn't that big of a name, but he was a decent receiver for the Rams last year. He's also suspended, right, for the first part of the season. Is that, am I remembering right?
The suspension hasn't been handed down yet, but he will be suspended. He was arrested for a DUI. He's going to be a few games.
So in that first part of the season, and the Seahawks play the 49ers, we'll talk about that in a second, they might be without Demarcus Robinson and Brandon Aiyuk, which gets you into the Ricky Pearsalls, Juwan Jennings, Jacob Cowing, like who are like, what's that receiver room going to look like when the 49ers come to Seattle?
Well, there's Juwan Jennings, he's a very good player, but he's kind of like Kittle. I mean, he's two guys who are going to primarily line up near the formation in the slot, essentially, and run shallow routes. They don't complement each other. There's no one really explosive on the team. It used to be Aiyuk and Debo. Now it's Pearsall, who's hurt, missed the entire offseason. Jordan Watkins, a rookie who was a late 4th round pick from Ole Miss. He caught like 4 or 5 passes this offseason. That makes him instantly at the top of the depth chart for the 49ers. It's a good question. I mean, I feel like the Niners are setting up for a slow start. They have all these young players on defense. They have Saleh back as the defensive coordinator, but they're talking about lumps and growing pains and mistakes they have to go through. It sounds like they expect to lose some games they're supposed to win. And that week 1 game in Seattle could be one of them. I mean, the Seahawks have such a better defense than the Niners have. The Niners might have a top 10 defense by the end of the season once 4 or 5 or 6 rookies get their feet underneath them. But week one, they absolutely could lose to Seattle on the road.
Well, let's talk about that game for a second. There was a 49er fan posted on Twitter a week or so ago, what's your score predictions for week 1, 49ers versus Seahawks? And the answers came back 42-17 San Francisco, 33-0 San Francisco, 48-10, 32-10, 31-17, 27-7, 31-13. Is that more about 49ers fans' perspective on the Seahawks, their perspective on the 49ers, or just their lack of touch with reality?
Yeah, all three. No offense to Niner fans, but I can say for certain that Niner fans don't think anything of the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. They don't. It's just like given that the Seahawks are going to be the last place team in the division. And I don't understand why everyone is writing off the Seahawks because they lost Geno and DK. That's why the Seahawks suck all of a sudden. Like their defense is the best defense in the division. Their head coach is one of the best defensive coaches in the league. And he won 10 games in his first season. He's going to win 5 games in year 2. I don't see it. I mean, with Geno Smith, yeah, Geno's good. DK's good. But that offensive coordinator you had last year was not, which is why he's not even in the NFL anymore. And now you have like a Kubiak running it, which means you'll have like a standard offense. And Geno was a drop back passer. Now you have a play action passer. You have 2 really good running backs. Looks like a solid team to me. I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl, but they look closer to winning the division than the 49ers do, in my opinion. because the Niners need to build their whole defense. I feel like their defense is 2 years behind what the Seahawks have.
Well, the place that really stands out for me when I was looking, we're talking to Grant Cohn, it covers the 49ers, and you make sure you follow Grant I still think it's the best follow on Twitter. But I looked at the defensive tackle groups, just interior, not edge players across the NFC West. And, you got the Cardinals who went out and got Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson. It's not like the best thing, and they're older, but like you got a floor for how bad they'll be. Like, what they're getting there. And then you've got Walter Nolan, who they drafted in the first round, and Darius Robinson. Like, they've got some guys. It's an interesting group. The Rams have got Kobe Turner, and they signed Poona Ford, and they've got some guys in there. Fisk, right?
Yeah.
And then the Seahawks have Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams and Jaron Reed, and like they've got some dudes. 49ers, man. Like, if CJ West and Alfred Collins are not great, I'm not even talking about like average rookie. If they're not great, it's rough in the middle of that line. I don't know how you can be a good defense and be potentially really bad. Like, maybe the worst in the NFL in the interior defensive line.
Well, part of the reason the Niners were like 8th in yards allowed, but 29th in points allowed last season was red zone. Like, they gave up the 3rd most rushing touchdowns in the league last season. So you just run the ball right through them to score. So the idea was to stop that from happening. So they drafted CJ West and Alfred Collins. I mean, I haven't seen CJ West in pads yet, but he looks like he could be good.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred Collins hasn't practiced yet. He re-aggravated a calf injury in his pro day. The Niners were like, we don't care. We love him. So they drafted him in round 2, didn't go to the rookie minicamp, didn't practice in the rookie minicamp, didn't see him at OTAs or minicamp. He's a rookie who needs to be great year 1, and he missed the entire spring portion of the offseason. Wouldn't really count on him to be great year 1. So again, great time to face the Niners is September. Absolutely, because this defense could be legitimately bad at that point.
Well, I mean, they made other moves as well. Obviously, you still have Nick Bosa, and now you add Michael Williams, and you trade for Bryce Huff. I like their edge group more this year than last year, although there's still some questions to be answered. How do you feel about that part of the team?
The addition of Bryce Huff makes a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm.
You could look at Bryce Huff and say, well, he only had real sack production 1 year. He's a 1-year wonder. They don't need him to have sack production. The vision for him is just beat the man in front of you, because his pass rush win rate is consistently high. He doesn't always finish. Just beat the man in front of you quickly, get in the backfield, and force the quarterback to move a little bit or hold the ball for an extra beat so that Nick Bosa can get the sack or someone else. That was how it worked when D Ford was on the team, and that's the vision for Bryce Huff.
What's your take on the rookie, their first round pick? How does he look so far?
How does he look so far? He's injured. He missed the second week of OTAs and minicamp. Like, he's another 49er player. I liked his tape. I like the idea of him. He can play on the edge. He's a good run defender. He can rush from the interior or the edge. He's 20 years old. He went to Georgia. All the things to like. But the Niners have this issue where, they're the best team in the league when healthy. It's just that they're never healthy. And they have this built-in, baked-in excuse every year. It's been going on for like a decade. And part of the reason they're not healthy is because they invest in players who are not healthy. They think they are smarter than the rest of the league, and they have these value opportunities that everyone else passes up. Like, yeah, there's a reason. So they look at Michael Williams, where maybe other teams are like, well, he was hurt. He got hurt at Georgia, and yeah, he played through it, but he got hurt. Niners are like, man, he's so tough. He played through an injury. Yeah, maybe you want a guy who wasn't injured, though, because he got hurt in college, then he gets hurt in the NFL, and you can't really be surprised. I mean, this is sort of what happens to him when he plays football. They have way too many guys like that. So I like the idea of him. I'd like to see him play football in practice for an extended period of time without getting hurt.
Speaking of injury, I think one of the pieces of news that was I don't know if it's a shock to you, but it was surprising to me. It came out, I think, after the draft. Malik Mustafa has an ACL injury, yes?
Yeah, and the news came out after the draft, but clearly they knew he tore his ACL in their regular season finale. It's the second time he tore that ACL. They went out this offseason and signed 2 safeties who aren't that good, but Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock. And when they signed him, it's like, well, how are they going to fit all these safeties on their 53-man roster? What do they know that we don't know? And then as soon as the draft is over and all their hands are on their cards are on the table, they're like, oh, by the way, here's a little piece of information you might want to know. So I thought was like kind of lame on their part, but also kind of lame on our part. Like, how did none of us know this? How did no one call Malik? How is this? I don't know. But
well, and he was a really promising rookie. Like I think he had a really nice first year and seemed like a guy that you'd expect to like maybe take a big step forward in year 2. Have they given you any indication of like, they kind of said he might be back early and mid-season, and he kind of tweeted or something like, I don't know who's telling you that. Like, he sounds like he might be longer than that. Do you have any information on when he might be back?
From what I understand, he and his camp are very eager to get back, and they think they can be ahead of schedule. But I'm sure, I mean, what else is a 22, 23-year-old player going to say? I wouldn't be surprised if he started the season on the PUP list along with Brandon Aiyuk. And all the more reason why, what is this Niners team going to be when they face the Seahawks week 1? He's not going to be there. Most likely. I would say fairly confidently that Malik Mustafa won't be on the field. Brandon Aiyuk won't be on the field. You'll have to face Christian McCaffrey, but he was not good last year. George Kittle will be out there. He's a hell of a player. Trent, when you get full Trent Williams, although we'll see how much thing about Trent Williams, he doesn't practice. So he's not really in game shape until October anyway. So I don't know. And then you got Sam Darnold, man. He owns the 49ers, knows the 49ers, beat the 49ers last year. Watch out for Sam.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that. I mean, Sam has his own problems he's got to work through before he's
How's his first impression going with the Seahawks so far?
You know, it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great. Like I think as a guy, as a dude, like I think it's been great, and I think he fits in really well, and I think he'll blend with the team, and I think they'll respect him and all that stuff. I think he'll work hard. I think he'll do some things that Geno wouldn't do, which is he will surrender on some plays and throw it away or dump the ball off that Geno just wouldn't do and force some interceptions. But he also throws his own interceptions. So it was not a great start for Sam Darnold, but it's also, man, it's tough to judge when he's new, Kubiak's new, the receivers are new, like everything's new, and they're just doing installs. The defense wasn't even doing installs because they're all back. They know everything already. So the defense is so far ahead of the offense right now. It's a little hard to judge, but I'd be lying if I said, oh yeah, Sam Darnold looks like the same guy he was last year.
Don't you get the feeling though that the Seahawks are going to run the ball a lot?
Yes.
Like way more than last year.
Yes.
It's going to be 100%. A whole different thing.
It is. I think that the only way, Grant, that the Seahawks are going to be a good offense is if they're a top 10 rushing offense. Like that has to happen. Like there's no way that this is like, oh, but maybe they could be a great passing offense. Like maybe almost the only way this is
maybe
happen.
Cooper Kupp can be good. How's he look?
You know, nothing stood out one way or another. Like he's playing, and given the fact that we've talked about these players that get injured, and that's a big issue. So he's out there and he looks healthy and he's running fine. But he's just like not the most dynamic player at this point. And so it's a little hard to tell. Like I can't say he was like routing guys up and getting like big separation. And
I think those days are over.
Maybe I'm not ready to say that, and I want to throw all the caveats out.
He can block, like he fits the system, and you can sort of scheme him open on play action, on crossing routes. Like I get the vision, and it's still a work in progress on offense. And Gray Zabel should be a freaking stud. He should really help open up a run game that should be so much better than it is, because those two running backs are both starters in the NFL. Good ones, in my opinion. Both of them. I think they've
got 4 quality running backs on that roster. Damian Martinez, who they drafted in the 7th round,
I like
really solid too. So I mean, I like the tight ends as well. AJ Barner is a good block. It's
been a minute since the Seahawks had a tight end you had to worry about.
I think AJ Barner, like, believe it or not, dude, AJ Barner had the second most touchdowns of any rookie tight end in Seahawks history.
That's
Um,
something. That's
yeah,
something.
it's something.
And what
It's a
about the guy
starting
you
point.
drafted this year?
Elijah Arroyo, yeah, he's going to be a good player. He's like
Mhm.
an easy athlete, very smooth. He's not going to be some aggressive blocker, but he's willing. So I think there's an outside chance that they end up trading Noah Fant, get
Okay.
his contract off the books, and that they run it out there with Barner, Arroyo, and a third guy, Saubert. I know your buddy David Lombardi's like he was predicting big things for Mr. Saubert last year. That didn't exactly pan out.
He knows the system, so that's why. Hey, look, this. You know who I want to know about. You know who I want to know about. Jaylen Milroe. He's on my dynasty team. I drafted him.
Yes. All right.
I
Good for you,
believe.
man.
Tell me, how is it looking?
I will tell you this. As someone I told you how
Didn't look good at
badly
Senior Bowl. It did not
he
look good at the
played.
Senior Bowl.
Senior Bowl was really, really bad, like really
Right.
bad. So I'm willing to say that. He made as much progress, maybe more progress than almost anyone else at camp, in like matter of weeks. And Mike McDonald even mentioned in his last press conference, he's like, he turned to Jaylen Milroe and just said, "Hey, can you just believe the difference, even thrown against air, than like now versus 2 months?" And Milroe gave him a big smile, and his mechanics look better. His accuracy is better. He's still a project, like, but the thing is, Grant, I would have told you the Senior Bowl, his chances, even as a project, of being an NFL passer were slim. Now, given the progress I've seen and the way I've seen him throw, it seems like likely that he will be a starter in the NFL. And it's just more a matter of like, is it next year? Is it 2
Interesting.
years? I think I he's just too talented that like the bar of how good of a passer he has to become a starter is, I think it's
Low.
reachable.
I mean, what he has to do is sort of like complete 2/3 of his passes, which really
Mhm.
isn't that hard in today's NFL. There's so
Yep.
many layups. As long as he's like, I mean, Anthony Richardson is having a tough time, but Jalen Hurts can do it. And he went to the same school and didn't exactly light it up. And he didn't have a high completion percentage at Alabama. So if he can just hit the layups, hit some deep throws here and there, not turn the ball over so much, and be a huge rushing threat, starting quarterback in the NFL.
Well, with Kubiak's offense, I mean, you see this. If he's running these bootlegs, they're running, the wide zone and bootlegs off of this all the time. If it's him on those bootlegs, it's a very different play, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a very different play. And having to defend him, I'll tell you, if I'm a 49ers defender and the Seahawks are a good defense, and let's say they're a competent run game, the thing that I'm probably most worried about is when they bring out Jaylen Milroe in some kind of sub package, in a wildcat kind of situation. That's a tough group to defend. So I mean, I think he might end up being the best athlete on offense for that
He might
team.
be your red zone offense. He scored so
Exactly.
many touchdowns in college, just direct snap from the red zone.
He had
Um,
like he had like 25 red zone touchdowns rushing in the
he's
last 3
such a
years.
good athlete. He's
Yeah.
so much more athletic than Jalen Hurts.
Yes. Yes. Those
Oh,
comparisons are crazy to me. For
dude.
sure.
So, and I'm looking at so you have Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, it might be my favorite running back in football. He's so good. And Zach Charbonnet, I've been watching him since college. I went to UCLA. Hell of a player. They're averaging like barely 4 yards a carry, and it's not their
Mhm.
fault. Can you imagine? Like now they have this Kubiak Shanahan system. So right there, even with Darnold on the field, they should be averaging closer to 5 yards a carry just because of the system. Then, if Milroe really is a functional passer with that kind of rushing threat, I mean, God, you could have the best rushing attack in the league. I mean, it could be up there with Baltimore.
I think that's a stretch. That's a
I
stretch,
mean, I'm
but
saying in like
that's
2026.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes. When
Yeah.
you get to that point, yes, you could
Yeah.
be that scary of
Yeah.
a rushing offense. I think that's the vision for sure.
Yeah.
Turning it back to San Francisco for a second, and we're talking to Grant Cohn. We were talking about Mustafa and his injury. Did I hear something about the other safety, Jair Brown, is also nursing something? Is that right?
Yeah, he had a procedure with his ankle, missed all of the OTAs and minicamp, and
What the
they
hell
say
is
he'll be
going
back.
on down there, man?
They're always like, "Oh, it's no big deal, though. It's precaution. It's a precaution. It's fine." So we'll see. But again, these are the 49ers, and that's why I don't know. I think it's easy to not take them that seriously. They're always the if healthy, we're the best team, but you're never healthy. And the media falls for it. There's like certain teams that are media darlings, the Niners, the Cowboys. If there's any hint of hope, the media falls for it. But what about Seattle's narrative? Like, no one cares. What about Arizona's narrative? No one cares. But really, I think Seattle and Arizona are better teams than the 49ers. All the Niners can say is, well, our schedule's easier. Okay. All right. Well, you lost to the Dolphins last year. You were 1-5 in the NFC West last year. That's what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a little shocking to me. I think I saw you tweet out who they beat. They beat last year the Jets, the Patriots, the Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Bucks, and the Bears.
Yeah. And when
And
they beat the Bucks didn't have Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. I mean, they beat like the Bucks B team, and they barely beat them by 3 points.
And the Seahawks, that was a very different version of the Seahawks. Like they changed their entire defensive personnel after that game. And when they played them the next time, when Christian McCaffrey was back, they did nothing against.
McCaffrey played in that game. Trent Williams played in that game. Nick Bosa played in that game. Left early, but no problem. 17 points. They limited the Niners too.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. So Christian McCaffrey is obviously a big
because they're going to stay healthy this year. Didn't you hear?
Sounds like that's going really well.
That's
so
what everyone's
far.
saying.
Well, Christian McCaffrey has been on the field though, right? He's practicing.
Yes, he has.
There was rumors or maybe reports that his GPS time on the field last year was never reached his pre-injury speed. Is there anything you're seeing that leads you to believe, all right, he's now recovered and he is kind of back to the player he was?
I mean, the fact that he just went through an entire OTA and minicamp, was on the field for every practice and didn't suffer any type of flare-up, setback, injury is progress and very good news. So yes, that's good. But you're right. I mean, Next Gen Stat tracks this stuff. In 2023, he was routinely going 19, 20, 21 miles an hour as a top speed in games. In 2024, in his 4 games, his top speed was 17 point something. And in the other 3 games, it was 16 something. So he just never got to that 5th gear. And I never saw him pull away and do that in OTAs or minicamp either. Afterward, he said that he was kind of approaching it as an extended rehab and was just trying to prove to himself that he could do this without getting injured again. So to me, he either doesn't have the 5th gear anymore, or he's a little afraid to kick it into 5th gear. And I think I understand why. The last few times he probably tried, he got hurt. So we'll see. And there's no reason to really do that yet anyway.
You guys drafted one of my favorite players. You guys, the 49ers, I should say, drafted one of my favorite players, Upton Stout. I am curious how he's looking so far in camp.
I'll tell you, but then I'm curious to know why he's one of your favorite players, because I feel like you got to really know the draft to know Western Kentucky Nickelbacks. But look, so the Niners drafted defensive players with their first 5 picks: Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton Stout, CJ West. And so far, by minicamp, which is 3 weeks of practices, 1 rookie was playing with the starters on defense, and it was Upton Stout.
Oh,
I'm not saying now it's because there were some injuries ahead of him, but he got the opportunity. And on the final play of 11 on 11s on the final day of minicamp, he's in the slot going up against another rookie, this undrafted free agent named Isaiah Nayor. I think he was at Texas and Nebraska, 6'4" guy, runs a 4.4. And Upton Stout's 5'8". Mac Jones is a quarterback, likes the matchup, slot fade to the left. Really nice pass for Mac Jones, well placed. Upton Stout, man-to-man coverage, no separation, reaches up, swats the ball away. I mean, now if it was Mike Evans, he probably would have got mossed, but he beat the guy to the catch point. From what I can tell, very strong, very competitive, doesn't give up a lot of separation. Maybe he'll get called for some illegal contact early on. A lot of times rookie DBs do, because the rules are different. But so far, so good for the 5'8" corner from Western Kentucky.
He is tough as nails. He's physical. He is sticky. I loved
Mhm.
the way he moved. A lot of people had him as safety, and I was like, nah, I think he's a corner. And then at the combine, I liked he backed it up. I loved watching him go through the drills. So that was one when he got called to the 49ers. I was annoyed because I was like, he's gonna be good, I think. Sounds like that might be the case. Is he ahead of Trey Brown, former
Well, that's
Seahawk?
his competition.
Okay.
And for now, the way it always works is in OTAs and minicamp, probably the first few weeks of training camp, they give the starting reps to the veteran, maybe out of the courtesy or to make the rookie earn it. We're not just going to give you first team reps. You got to beat out this guy. And I don't know Trey Brown that much. They're playing him pretty much exclusively at nickel, and he's intercepted Brock Purdy once. Although Brock does throw a lot of picks in practice, so that doesn't necessarily mean much. But what can you tell Niner fans about Trey Brown?
Well, I mean, I love Trey Brown, especially as a person. I think he's a great guy, smart. I think if you want to see peak Trey Brown, watch him against the Cincinnati Bengals 2 years ago when he was healthy. It was the game after the Seahawks played the Giants. He absolutely owned the Bengals receiving core. Like Jamar Chase, he picked off one of them. He knocked a couple away. He was really, really good. The challenge with Trey Brown has been two things. One, staying healthy. So that fits perfectly with the 49ers.
When healthy.
And two, he is handsy. He draws flags. And so but as far as he is a really good corner when he's healthy. And as far as cover, I think he's a really good player and a good guy. So I'm rooting for Trey Brown, although, I'm not necessarily rooting for the overall team success down there. But I think Upton Stout, rookie, if you have a rookie that's coming in and playing well, if they're even, they're leaving, as they say. If a rookie is playing better than an older or as the same as an older player, you're almost always going to go with the rookie and bet on development. So might be a tough road to hoe for Mr. Brown.
Also, the Niners seem to want to take the lumps this year. They're trying to get through all the growing pains now and not have to delay them. So I'm with you on that. If they're even, they're leaving and they're going to go with Stout. And then they also have this Nick Martin guy from round 3 linebacker. He's probably going to end up starting pretty quickly for them. Looks like a pretty good player. But again, they haven't put the pads on yet. It's hard to see their physicality.
So it's interesting you say that. And you got a couple more minutes before we let you go. So everyone, the 49ers are the favorites for the division. They have the highest over under for 10.5 wins, right? You hear all that, and then you've got, hey, maybe they're kind of taking their lumps this year. They know they're going to try to get through it. Those two things don't seem to match. So which is it?
I mean, what is so different about this team than the one that just went 6-11? 2 things, 3 things. Robert Saleh's back. That's legit. 2, the schedule is way easier. That's legit. And Christian McCaffrey. I think everyone's looking at him. Well, if Christian McCaffrey can just, play like he did in 2023, wasn't that long ago. So if he could just turn it back to a year and a half, I mean, the Niners can go, and that's true. But I don't think I expect Christian McCaffrey to play like he did when he was 26 and 27. He's 29. There's a huge difference between a 26 and 27-year-old running back and a 29-year-old running back. I mean, even I feel like he got old at 28. He got old at the end of being 27. I mean, I think we've kind of seen the decline of Christian McCaffrey, and there's just a little bit of denial at this point. There's always a chance. We've seen what 29-year-old running backs look like. By and large, it's not that special. So if he can be the offensive player of the year, there's no limit to what the Niners can do. Saving that, what makes them that much better? Brock's going to take a step. Aiyuk's going to rush back. Trent Williams going to stay healthy all year. I don't get what's that different about this team.
Yeah, that's the part that I struggle with. When I looked at the Cardinals roster and I was like, all right, Cardinals won 8 games last year. Seahawks beat them twice. The Rams got boat raced by them once, and then they should have lost to them in a game the Rams needed at home. Cardinals had the ball at the 1-yard line. They throw a pick, right? So I look at that team and I look, okay, they've got all these young corners. Yeah, if a couple of those guys hit, that could help. They've got some young players on the front line. They added, like, I can see the outline of if these things line up, they could take a
I can
leap.
do it with the Cardinals in 30 seconds. Josh Sweat, they
Right.
overhauled their front seven. They went from a 4-win team to an 8-win team in a year.
Yep.
Kyler Murray was coming off an ACL tear, didn't really run very much last year, has talked about wanting to run more. He's a guy who has rushed for 800 yards and 10 touchdowns in a season before. You got year 2 of Marvin Harrison Jr. If they don't make the playoffs, you could have to clean house over there. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on this team.
Yeah, so like I could see that, and I don't have to tell you the story with the Rams. They already made a big leap, and you can see that. I look at the 49ers and I'm like, what has to happen? Like, what has to happen for them to be meaningfully better?
Christian has to be great. Trent has to be on the field. They have to be relatively healthy, and 4 or 5 rookies have to play like veterans. That's a lot.
That is,
and everyone's like, no, the Niners got it. They got Robert Saleh and Christian and Kyle Shanahan. They got this. Okay, maybe. I wouldn't bet on it.
Fred Warner played with a stress fracture in his foot last year, and he wasn't the same player, so he could be better. He was, for my money, first 2-3 weeks of the season, he was defensive player of the year. He was like insanely the best he's ever been, and he wasn't that the rest of the year. So that's something. But like Mustafa, Jerry Brown, like there's a lot of guys. I'm just like, wait a second. Like I like Renardo Green at corner. Maybe he can take a step. Like
Lenore's a good player.
I like Upton Stout, right? Diamador Lenore, good corner. Talks a lot for sure.
Which I like.
And then I look at the tight ends, like George Kittle, fine, but George Kittle keeps getting injured. And who's behind
and he'll be 32 in October. So how many games is he going to play this year? How many games is Bosa going to play this year? How many games is Aiyuk going to play this year?
And Aiyuk, I honestly, until you and I talked, I haven't looked in. I didn't realize he had that many issues with the knee. Like that's a pretty serious thing. He just might, for him to even come back is one thing. For him to be the player he once was, usually that's the next year, if that's even going to happen.
Yeah, and at his best, he was the deep threat in this offense. He averaged 17.9 yards per catch in 2023. I don't think he's ever going to do that again because even as a deep threat, he wasn't that fast. He ran a 4.5. Now he's probably going to be more like a possession receiver, like Jawan Jennings. He'll be a very expensive version of Jawan Jennings, who's smaller. I mean, maybe that's harsh to say. We'll see what he is coming off this injury, but we got to be realistic too.
Do you think that Ricky Pearsall is going to make a big jump? Does he look like he could be the next big 49ers receiver?
He's had moments. He had a nice game against the Lions last year. You can see the speed and quickness, the ability to beat man-to-man coverage, but he was hurt all of last season. I'm not talking about the gunshot wound. He hurt his shoulder. He hurt his hamstring. He missed all of OTAs and minicamp this year with a hamstring. I feel more confident in young players who are on the practice field consistently. If I see the talent and I know you're on the practice field, I'll figure it'll work out. But with him, it's like, maybe if he ever gets healthy and stays healthy, yeah, sure, he has the talent, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, something important in there, it sounds like you've actually been attending these OTAs and mini camps to give your reports. Is that something you recommend for credible reporters to actually?
No, I used to think that it was important, if not essential, to watch the thing that you were reporting on. But I've learned recently that there are certain people who are so good, they don't even have to be there. They just know. They just know. Yeah.
You know how much time I could save and money if I didn't even have to travel to watch these games? I just knew what was going on.
We should try in the future. The Niners just had a practice. I wasn't there. Here's my best guess as to what happened. And then just go into detail. Brock Purdy was great.
My God. Yeah. The cojones on.
We didn't mention Brock Purdy at all in this show. As a Seahawks fan, are you scared of him?
I'm not. I like the way, and let me preface that by 2 years ago, I was on this show with my co-hosts, and I said, I think Brock Purdy is going to be the best quarterback in the NFC. Not the NFC West, the NFC this year. And they laughed at me like, what are you talking about? That was back when the story was still Purdy's just a product of the system and he was being held up by all. I'm like, I don't know. I saw some things from that guy. He's got moxie. I think he's a perfect fit for this offense. And then he went off and he had that year. And then last year came and I kind of saw some things that gave me pause, Grant. Like I saw toward the end of the season, the running game was no longer dominant. And Kyle Shanahan seemed to be so enamored with Brock Purdy, he was trying to really lean on the passing game in a way that I don't think he has in the past. And the offense looked perverted. Like it looked different than the Kyle Shanahan offense we've seen. And I think I saw Brock Purdy crack a little bit under the weight of what they were asking him to carry. I don't think the offensive line was good enough to protect him. I don't think the running game was good enough to take the pressure off him. And I don't think the receivers were good enough. And then like a lot of quarterbacks are not going to look great, but I see him as a very good quarterback. I'm not going to be a guy that says he's just a total creation, but I don't think he's good enough to overcome, I don't think he's good enough to be a pass first offense. Let me put it that way. That's the way
I think everything you just said is true and all that context is fair. But like when you get the 5-year, $265 million contract, no one cares. Oh, you need a running game. Oh, you need better weapons. Take less money. You're making $53 million a year. That's way more than Sam Darnold. You're supposed to be able to carry a team in ways that he can't. And I'm not sure that Brock Purdy really is in this completely different tier of quarterback than Sam. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, really, Brock never threw for 34 touchdown passes in a season. He never did that. He had more success in the playoffs, but I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo won games in the playoffs. Mark Sanchez won games in the playoffs. Is that how we're judging quarterbacks now? I don't know.
Do you think there's a chance that people are talking about regretting the Purdy deal this year? Like that fans will turn on him this year. If the 49ers have another last place finish, is he going to turn from like the apple of everybody's eye to the villain? Like what's the tenor there with how fans see Brock Purdy?
I mean, you know the NFL as well as I do. If he loses week 1 in Seattle and doesn't play well and throws 2 picks and Darnold wins, it starts that soon, that quickly. Week 1. It's what happened with Aiyuk last year. I mean, when Aiyuk was holding out, 9 out of 10 Niner fans were like, pay this guy. He's the best. He stands for everything that we stand for. He's so good. Got the money, dropped a couple passes week 1 against the Jets, didn't really produce. And people were like, what a bum. What do we do? Well, this guy's awful. I hate you. I mean, people don't give you that kind of benefit of the doubt when you're making that much money. You're less relatable. I think a big reason everyone liked Brock as opposed to Jimmy. Jimmy came here, he played for 7 games and got paid. He was the highest paid player in the NFL after like 7 starts. And people saw him with, certain adult celebrities, and instantly he lost his relatability. It's like, oh, this is some like celebrity or something. Brock, he's in the choir, he's in the church choir.
Yeah.
He's so relatable, but not anymore. Sorry, you make $53 million a year. That's just, we're not in your tax bracket anymore. Not that we ever were, but now you got to really carry teams, be good in close games, lead comeback victories, things he hasn't really done very much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Jimmy G thing for me, the main difference between the two of them was you could set your clock to Jimmy Garoppolo turning the ball over at least once a game. Like you just knew it. It's just a matter of when, not if. Brock Purdy's not that careless. Like he is good for a turnover now and then, but he's not going to be the Jimmy Garoppolo fumble or interception machine that he was. Last thing I got to ask you, Grant, and I'll let you go, is Kyle Shanahan, your biggest fan. I know he's constantly just looking for opportunities to spend more time with you. What's your take on anything that he has adjusted from like, do you feel like he looked at last year and came to conclusions about things that he needed to do differently, that the team needed to do differently? Or is it just, oh, we just need to be healthy and we'll be fine?
I'd like to think that there were some schematic things he wants to adjust, but everything they're talking about is like, well, it was about the drama and the distractions. And as long as we can get everyone here for training camp or for minicamp and OTAs, like that'll be enough. As long as we have a good off season, maybe. I thought he had his worst season as a coach last year. I thought he was morose and borderline depressed and disengaged. And he even admitted he was like, losing the Super Bowl that way when you're that close, all you can think about is getting back to that point, which is so, poisonous to your team because you actually have to embrace every little step of the journey. And the Niners couldn't possibly do that from Kyle Shanahan down last year. So maybe the fact that he's actually re-engaged will help the team because he can be a very good coach. He can be a really awful coach like last year. But if let's say he's on the hot seat and let's say if he misses the playoffs again this year, that he could get fired or something, or John Lynch could get fired. Maybe that actually brings out the best in Kyle Shanahan, and that would be good for the 49ers. He had no new ideas last year. Christian McCaffrey went down and he was like, I'm going to have to work really hard to think of new things to do. And frankly, I don't have it. I don't want to do it. I had a plan.
It was great. Kyle Juszczyk back.
Well, now Debo's gone. He's been leaning on Debo as a crutch for years. Debo's gone. Christian McCaffrey's too old to give him 350, 400 touches. There's got to be some type of a plan to use him responsibly, and there's got to be some new wrinkles that don't involve Debo. So let's see what you got, Kyle. Everyone still thinks you're a top 5 offensive coach in the league, if not top 3. It's a great year to show it.
Oh, I didn't ask. The kicker. What's going on with the kicker? I know this is everyone wants to know. I left it for the last thing. What's going on with the kicker?
Everyone wants to know because everyone wants to know that he's still on the Niners. Please be there week 1.
Exactly.
He's in the middle of a kicker competition with Greg Joseph, who's not good. I don't know. It'd be pretty funny if he wins a competition based on kicks in practice because the whole issue with him isn't it's just mental. The pressure gets to him.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking what's going to suck for the Niners is I don't think he can live up to the pressure of being a 3rd round pick. But once they cut him and he goes somewhere else, he's not a 3rd round pick anymore. He's just some journeyman kicker. He'll probably be fine once he goes to the Seahawks in a year or 2. But on the Niners, it's never going to work.
All right, Grant. Well, man, this has been a blast. Thank you for spending the time. Tell folks what is coming up for you over on your channel and on your channels.
I just started a TikTok because I saw Hawk Blogger over there killing the game on TikTok, so I had to. I just copy all.
Will Hart. Thanks for the help, Will.
Yep, and I just started an Instagram yesterday, so I'm basically trying to get into the 21st century slowly. I'm trying to get on the all-century team. How many Seahawks made it?
The all-century team. I haven't even looked yet.
Sean Alexander was practice squad on offense. Walter Jones didn't make it. He was practice. He was honorary.
Walter Jones didn't make it.
They had 2 left tackles, and they went Joe Thomas and Trent Williams.
I think that's recent.
I feel like Walter Jones is better than Trent Williams.
I would take Walter Jones over either of those guys.
Here's the thing about Trent Williams. This is blasphemous as a Niner guy, but super quick on his feet, really tough to beat in pass protection, and very nimble as an outside zone run blocker. No one's scared of Trent. I feel like the best offensive linemen have a nasty, mean physical streak that he doesn't have. He'll punch you in the face sometimes and get ejected, but he's not a down and down out, overly physical player.
Interesting. That's not my perspective on. I think Trent Williams deserves to be in that conversation. Walter Jones was an absolute eraser. It didn't matter who was opposite him. They did nothing. They just did nothing. And this is a guy that in the NFC Championship against the Panthers, he blocked his man 40 yards downfield. He was different, in a way that I just don't think any offensive lineman of this current generation is. Trent Williams is really, really good, Hall of Fame level. That's crazy to me. But no, I haven't even looked at that stuff because most of it's really silly. So, all right. So wait, so you were saying you've got something coming up related to that?
No, I just check me out on TikTok. Check me out on Instagram. I'm posting little shorts, streaming here and there. There's not a whole lot going on. I'm waiting for. This is the time of year where you're hoping people don't get arrested, that kind of stuff. I really don't. Hope I don't have to interrupt my golf game for this. So that's what fingers crossed.
Well, we're definitely have to get out and swing the sticks, and we'll make that happen.
You sound like you're good. I'm nervous, but it's okay.
I'm
have
like
fun at
I'm a
golf's fun.
double-digit handicap man, although it is going down. So like it's going the right direction.
If I could just break 100, I'd feel a lot better.
Oh,
But
come on. I've seen
oh,
your
come on! I'm not
your
being modest. I suck,
really?
but
Okay.
I can hit the ball far sometimes, which makes it feel nice.
That's all you need, man. That
Yeah.
feeling off the tee. I hear you on that. Dude, thank you so much again. Make sure everyone you follow Grant Cohn, and that'll do it for this episode of Hawkblogger Mornings. Take care. Tomorrow, I've got a special mystery guest. This is a special guest. Has never been on the show before. You guys are going to love it. It is somebody that everybody in Seahawks land is fond of. So tune in for that, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Until then, I'm Brian Nemhauser. This has been another episode. Take care.